The show this year is about impact. We've invited artists from all over the country and the world to submit their pieces and tell us about what has impacted their lives and what impact are they having on other people and the world around them. We've selected pieces that tell that story through individual portraits, through pieces on community and village life, through what's happening socially, politically around not just the country, but around the world. And we have pieces that also document and record a part of history that individual artists did not want to see. And I want you to think about, as you look at the artist's work, what mark are you leaving on the world? How are you telling your story? What is impacting your life, and how are you impacting somebody else's life? Think about it.
Deb Ballou submitted 3 pieces: Talking Drums, Stall, and Village. And of the piece Village, she says, Botswana's village of Shale united tradition and current ideals of living, gathering young and old together, building community, sharing food and drink, and telling stories. Much time is spent sleeping inside, but living outside at the shebeen or the bar, by the market, under the goatlet tree, where court may be held, at schools and at games. Tambalu contributed these 3 pieces: Unbound, Beginnings, and 1492, Columbus, A Diversity of Views. And of 1492, this is what he says. In this painting, tributes made to Columbus over the centuries as the great explorer are juxtaposed with the reality, the inhuman acts of European conquerors in their pursuit of wealth, glory, and unbridled ambition. Lawrence Baker submitted the piece Serenity. My efforts are directed toward rendering the work as I perceive it. This is where my soul and reflection come into play. In viewing my work, I hope you are becoming aware of the humanistic quality of the work. The humanism is what surprises me, and I want to pass that on to you. In Tasha Beckwith's artwork, Neo-Nefertiti, Nubian Nefertiti, and Neo-Nefertiti, she has created 3 images of modern Egyptian queens to draw attention to the impact the ancient Egyptian culture has had on the world, from the alphabet, astronomy, mathematics, and architecture. Louis Burroughs Jr.'s works are Fire and Black Church, Mickey Mouse Justice, and Born to Breathe 2. In Born to Breathe 2, he shares in his artist statement, this is a prose painting that borrows from images of the genocide of Jews in Nazi Germany. The painting bears witness to a racially corrupt white society and encompasses the lynching of black life. Aura Clay produced, they called it Necktie Party, and she has this to say about her piece. The inspiration for this quilt was a collection of silk designer neckties. I saved the labels and I imagined all the fancy parties these neckties may have attended. As I worked on this quilt, I was reminded of what necktie and party meant for my ancestors. I was reminded that under the initial beauty of the silk fabric lies the impact of a painful history. In this quilt, you see the beauty of the pattern, and looking closer, you feel the pain in the thread outlining a hanging man in the same color as the background fabric. These next 3 pieces are a collaboration between the 2 artists, Darren Darby and Auntie DeAndre Norman. And the pieces are called Ira Aldridge, Uwazi Edul, and Natural Woman. Of Natural Woman, they say, This artwork is inspired by the first African model to grace the cover of Essence magazine. She was known for promoting an Afrocentric style. Her natural beauty impacted other African American women to embrace their own natural beauty. Ricky Duberg produced Strange Days Kanye, and he writes this. From music to fashion, Kanye West's impact on pop culture is undeniable, but his comments at times have left some puzzled. This piece is no attempt to provide answers, but touches on the enigma that is Kanye. No stranger to controversy, his bold statements reverberate throughout the world, lauded by some, vilified by others. His direct admonition of Bush for the Katrina debacle was in one moment shocking, and for many in the black community spoke the truth. Then fast forward a few years, and here is this same person supporting Agent Orange and the MAGA campaign. Strange days indeed. Kendall Glover produced Monk Underground JB4, and he says this. My first concert at 16 was Grover Washington. Miles in Denver at 21. 26, I was a smart airman, but angry, no direction, and on my way to becoming a drunken mess. Then this old dude is billeted in my dorm. Chief Master Sergeant Williams, 20 years my senior. He was the epitome of jazz, cool, dapper, comported. The impact he had in those 60 days was immense. Through jazz, he became my mentor. His albums were gold to him, but he left me with Monks Underground. Jazz has been the soundtrack of my life. Veronica Halfacre produced Don't Touch My Crown. Warning, not to be used for cultural appropriation. And the piece titled Liberation. And she says this. The senseless killings of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor have greatly impacted our country. Liberation represents Black Americans breaking free of America's history of systemic oppression, represented by the distressed flag. In my work, hair represents the Black experience. The tension of the hair parallels the same tension in our country. Al Harden submitted We Are 1-4 and We Are 1-5. From We Are 1 to We Are 1-2 and We Are 1-3, we now have We Are 1-4, which displays the iconic hand with the colors of man. Is the hand positioned to strike at the heart of racism? And is his brother going to restrain his anger? Or has he withdrawn his hand out of reflex because America is not ready to embrace him? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Curious, what does indivisible mean? And when you say justice for all, am I included? Morris Howard created Self-Portrait, The Baptism, and Socially Distant. Created in 2020, Socially Distant depicts a homeless African-American man going about his daily life in obscurity. In the past 4 months, we have become familiar with the term social distancing. This pandemic has definitely had a major impact on our world, especially if you're poor and Black. We've been asked by healthcare officials to create distance between ourselves and other human beings to prevent spreading the COVID-19 virus. However, people like this gentleman are not in most of our social circles to begin with. He is amongst the poorest of the poor. They are often lonely and ostracized in our society. Pandemic or no pandemic, someone homeless and Black already has a head start on social distancing. Jimmy Jones. How long? Your pandemic started the end of 2019. It does not discriminate on the basis of race, color, national origin, sex, sexual orientation, age, or disability. My pandemic started with my birth. It does discriminate. It ravages its victims, leaving them isolated, helpless, breathless, dead. I have suffered for years. How long until we find a cure? Gail Mallory submitted 3 Wise Women, Women in Our Village, Don't Cry. This piece symbolizes the struggle of Black women desiring to be accepted for who they are in a world that ignores their existence. Don't Cry is a visual representation of myself, desperately searching for the beauty within. I suffered many years from insecurities, long before I realized I was an artist. My insecurities revolved around my appearance, which is one of the reasons that lips and noses are exaggerated in this piece. I began to realize that I was no longer looking for myself in my artwork, but my art had become an instrument to uplift my culture, community, and other women with similar challenges. Toni Malone, Fantastic. Fantastic is a piece about belonging, being part of and sharing in the glory of the team. A passionate, secure connection that impacts and informs his dress, associations, and actions. Just one look at our cowboy fan generally makes you feel some kind of way. Either you agree or disagree with his association, but you understand his devotion. This commission was completed as a present from his loving, devoted wife. Onwukwe, Sad, CV19, 846. And lest we forget, Making America Great Again. Despite the inglorious United States of America's history of man's inhumanity to man, its impact is global. This art piece then is to raise in the consciousness of man that lest we forget Making America Great Again is not just reminiscence or renaissance of her glorious past, but it was the period African Americans were hung, lynched, and burnt at the stakes. Lisa Shepard, Hard Above All Else. For this piece, I wanted a feeling of an assault on our reality, with negative words around Yeshua's head and his heart, repelling it with an outpouring of love and good things. I also painted Yeshua wrapped in an American flag to tie in the impact of the dramas that surround us every day in America. Talitha Sidney, This is Why We March. My ancestors were tortured, humiliated, set on fire, separated from their family, skinned, raped, dismembered, sold, mutilated, and lynched. To know that I carry the same burden of oppression is the reason I march. Maxine Thomas submitted these 3 pieces. When They Go Low, We Go High, Spreading the Gospel, and Vivian's Hat Closet. Many in the African American community in the 60s and 70s worked jobs that required uniforms or were unskilled labor. For women, wearing a dress or suit during the work week was not part of the equation. Church was the place where Black women were able to show their style, and style they did. Vivian was a milliner. She loved hat making, and the hats she made were made with love and style. She made hats for herself and anyone who asked. Each Sunday she arrived at church with a new hat, and her closet was bursting at the seams. This piece celebrates the impact of stylish Black women. Roderick Trebu submitted Enough and Passage of Grace, the Middle Passage voyage that inspired the ship captain to write Amazing Grace. Glenn Walker. Heritage captures the essence of the true identity of African Americans. Within Heritage, you find the restoration of the Black family. You candidly see the restoring of Black males and females into their rightful positions as kings, queens, princes, and princesses. This painting, Heritage, announces our arrival and the impact we have in this world as we are ushered in on the elephant that has been in the room for decades. Brent Wiley, Agu. Agu is a commentary on my recent visit to Ghana for the Year of Return. This monumental event contributed to an impactful shift in consciousness for some African Americans as they more firmly began to realize their cultural heritage started on the African continent instead of within America. Agu is reflective of Ghana's continued kindred outreach to the diaspora and the immense cultural wealth and history the country is willing to share.